Splatoon 3 was announced a few months ago. There are so many ways the Splatoon developers could revolutionize Splatoon with new mechanics. What would they change or add to sub-weapons in Splatoon? Do sub-weapons need an overhaul? Hello, my name is Joof. I am a competitive Splatoon 3 player who loves to talk about everything related to Splatoon. Today, I'm going to talk about sub-weapon changes I would like to see in Splatoon 3. If you enjoy today's video, please like the video and subscribe. It helps out more than you would ever know. Only 7% of my viewers are actually subscribed. Now, with all that said, let's get on to the actual video. Sub-weapon balance in Splatoon 2 isn't the best, with lethal bombs dominating bomb tier lists. Utility sub-weapons such as point sensors just aren't as useful as something that can give you an easy kill or help with mobility. This can ruin some kits for weapons like vanilla H3 nozzle nose. There are many changes that could solve some of these issues, such as secondaries, a rework for certain sub-weapons, new sub-weapons, and more kits. Secondary sub-weapons could fix some of these issues. Secondaries would have sub-weapons separated into two classes, lethal and support. Lethal sub-weapons would include splat bombs, ink mines, burst bombs, and other bombs. Supportive sub-weapons would include weapons whose main purpose isn't to cause damage. This would include subs like point sensors and splash walls. To use a lethal sub, you would press the R button. To use a supportive sub, you would press the L button. The display of the ink tank would change to represent two different types of bombs. Ink Saver sub would be split into two abilities, Bomb Saver and Support Saver. I think that secondaries would give a second chance to kits that would have otherwise fallen into obscurity because of a bad combo. Another possibility for how sub-weapons could function is custom kits. You could choose from a small pool of sub-weapons to put onto your main weapon. One supportive and one lethal. They would have to limit the amount of sub-weapons you could choose from because certain combinations would just be broken. Weapons would only have a special link to it and not a sub. You could choose from a small pool of subs. This probably wouldn't work though, because I could see people latching onto 2 or 3 different subs and never using anything else. Splatoon 3 will probably have 2 to 3 new sub-weapons. A possible sub-weapon that could be in Splatoon 3 is a propulsion bomb. When this bomb is thrown, it makes contact with the surface. After a second, it will send any opponents near or yourself into the air. It would take a short amount of time to explode and would require 60% of your ink tank to be used. You're not able to use this on teammates to prevent griefing. Another idea for a possible sub-weapon is the return of Disruptor. For those who may not know what Disruptor is, it is a sub-weapon from Splatoon 1 that functions similarly to Toxic Mist. If it made contact with your opponent, it would reduce their movement speed heavily, basically making them a free kill. It would have to be heavily nerfed though, as it was by far the best sub-weapon in Splatoon 1. A hybrid of Disruptor and Toxic Mist could possibly work in Splatoon 3. When you throw Disruptor after making contact with the surface, a cloud would appear. If you are in this cloud, your movement speed would be reduced heavily. This would also apply if you leave the cloud for about 3 seconds. The cloud itself wouldn't last as long as it does in Splatoon 2. Some sub-weapons are just significantly worse than others and could use some tweaks. They could use a buff or 10 to be honest. An example of this is sprinklers, which can be really weak. One suction bombs can paint more ground than a single sprinkler. The painting sub-weapon. I think that Sprinkler needs to have a bigger painting radius. Another buff that Sprinkler could use is when the Sprinkler is broken, it explodes, painting even more. Point Sensor could also use a buff, and other subs like Ink Mines do what Point Sensor does, but better. I think to counter this, point sensors should tell you what weapon is marked and not just where some player on the other team is. This would help distinguish point sensors and give it its own niche. More kits could also help give weapons more playstyles that would fit them better. I expect for Splatoon 3 to have 2 kits for every weapon that was in Splatoon 2 at launch. After they release the game, I think the third kit should come out in batches over the span of about 2 years. I think this would help keep the game fresh and alive. In conclusion, Splatoon's sub-weapon balance could use some changes. Secondaries could help give weapons a new chance, and new sub-weapons will increase variety. What do you think should change about Splatoon sub-weapons? I hope you have enjoyed today's video, and if you did, remember to like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to follow my socials, which are linked below.